Hey guys, Team Stamp West here. Last video in the What's in My Bag kind of series here. Last video is going to be drivers. Everybody loves to throw far, so I'm going to share with you what gets me down the fairways. First up, we have a Big Z Thrasher, and these are a great, what I would call understable driver. Very, very comfortable in the hand. In terms of an intermediate or upper level player, these are definitely going to be understable. For a beginner player, the Thrasher is definitely a great starting point for players that are getting their arm speed up there a little bit and looking to jump into something with a little higher speed. For me, I throw these very straight and to fade right. If I give them a little hyzer flip and a little air, they still have an understable mid-flight, but will still fade back. Decently wide rim, very comfortable in the hand though, and a really great understable driver. Next up, I like to carry 4 cranks. Cranks are definitely my primary driver at a 1.3 stability rating. These are a little bit wider rim, so a little tougher maybe for some people to really get their hand around. A lot of times on these I actually end up not doing a full power grip, but rather putting my finger, my last knuckle kind of halfway on the rim there. That seems to work for me. But these, are all in varying stability stages, I would say. I carry 2 ESPs, 2 Zs. My ESPs are a little less stable than my Zs. On the lower end of things, I have a little bit beat up 172 first run ESP crank. And then on the stable end of things, I have a newer Pearly Z crank. And this one for me will hold a hyzer. Hyzer very straight, fades. My crank a little bit more used, a little bit lighter one is a very flat release. It'll fly very straight and fade right for me. These might be a little bit harder for beginner level players, but a lot of intermediate level players and pros, the crank is their go-to. Next up, we have one of the newer Discraft molds. This is a Punisher, and this was a great addition to the Discraft lineup for what I would call drivers. A little bit wider rim again, not quite as wide as the crank. A little bit duller on the rim edge. These have a 1.7 stability rating, but these just have a ton of glide. I typically end up throwing these 30-40 feet farther than I expect to, for better or worse, but these just go a really long way, even for a 1.7 stability rating. With the higher stability to them as well, you can throw these forehand, you can give them a little hyzer flip or a little flat release. I throw these a lot if I need a straight forehand drive. Something that is going to glide, something that's going to carry, and something that's not going to turn over. So a great addition to the Discraft lineup and a great addition to really any bag. Next up is a newer mold to my bag. This is a Z Flick. And as I'm working on more forehands, the Flick was definitely a must-have in my bag. Very flat top to these, a little bit shallower, but in terms of forehands, very straight. Almost similar to the Punisher, but has a little more speed to it, a little more drive, and I know that I can count on these to fade back a little bit. Maybe for 50 to 75% power, you can put these up on a little ante for a forehand and really get a nice shaping shot. These have some good utility for forehands. In terms of a backhand, I would kind of consider these like a longer Undertaker. Even though the stability on these is a 2.0 versus a 1.4, these are very straight release, very flat top, still have some great speed to them, but do have a lot of fade. So if you need something maybe into a slight headwind, or something that you just need a large fade at the end of the flight, Flick is a great choice. And last up, we have a pair of Forces. Forces are a 2.0 stability rating, and I carry 2 of them. First one is a Crystal Sparkle Flex, which is very straight. These have more fade, being more stable than my cranks do. If I need something to go straight and have a lot of fade, I'll typically grab a Force, but for me these have a pretty similar flight to the crank. A little straighter through the mid-flight versus the crank, which has a little understable mid-flight. But these are very straight to fade, and my Crystal Sparkle one is a little less stable than my Big Z Force. This is my most stable driver, I would say, in my bag. If you have a slight headwind, the Force is a fantastic option. These are great for forehands too because they are more stable. On full power forehands for me, these will get a nice S-flight, kind of a little unstable mid-flight, but always a very reliable finish, and I can really throw these as hard as I'm able now for forehands and trust them. So that's it for my drivers. Maybe this will help you. Hope so. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.